Hello and good evening and welcome to a very special program called Cricket Predicta on NewsX, powered by 1xBet. Well, in yesterday's match, Rajasthan Royals secured their second consecutive win in the tournament by defeating Delhi Capitals by 12 runs at the Savai Madhav Singh Stadium. Batting first, Rajasthan posted a total of 185 in 20 overs, with Ryan Parag, yes, the new man from Assam, stopped scoring with 84 runs of 45 deliveries. In response, Delhi could only manage their 173 for 5 in their allotted 20 overs, with David Warner scoring 49 runs and captain Rishabh Pant contributing 28 runs. Rajasthan's Yuzvendra Chahal and Nandre Berger claimed 2 wickets each to seal the victory. Today's Royal Challengers Bengaluru will face Kolkata Knight Riders at the MH Swami Stadium in Bengaluru. Both teams are winning handsomely and are vying for top 4 spot, with RCB having played 2 matches and KKR having played 1. The history between these two teams in the IPL shows KKR dominance, having won 18 of the 32 matches played. Additionally, KKR has won more matches at the Chinnaswamy Stadium. Yes, it's one of those rare cases where a visiting team defeats the home team, and that too RCB, winning 7 out of the 11 matches played here. Well, we've got more stats, we've got more insights from a player who's actually been at the dugout at the Bengaluru MH Swami Stadium, and also we've got a fresh, or rather an experienced voice in David Brooks. But first, I'm going to introduce Tanmay. Tanmay has played for RCB and has also played for Kenya at the World Cup, which India won in 2011. Tanmay, welcome to the show. What do you make of this record, and what is your perspective of the match today? Because we've got many pointed questions here. Your views.
Good evening to everyone. I think it's going to be an interesting game. As far as the stats are concerned, it goes out of the window once you're playing, and we can talk about it all day. And clearly, it states that KKR have been dominant. But I just feel on the day, especially in this format, how you play, how you execute your skill sets will matter.
Well, very interesting point you said, how you execute your skills, of course. But just take us through the Chinnaswamy pitch in your assessment. How is the pitch going to play today? Traditionally, and when you played in your growing up years, how did it play then?
Look, it's a proper flat deck. Let's not go by the last game that was played there. I think we just read it. I was just reading some news on it that it was a bit up and down, which is why it was 176, I think, the total. But this one, it's got a bit of tinge of grass, and let me assure you, it's going to be a really good wicket to bat on. It has always been, and the ball flies. So I'm expecting an entertaining game and runs from both sides.
Well, absolutely. We also have a very firm voice, a very experienced voice in David Brooks. David, your favorite RCB is back. I think you've become a brand ambassador, honorary brand ambassador for Virat Kohli and RCB in London. Your views?
Well, I did predict that he would top score in an RCB win in the last game.
Yes, you did.
He duly obliged with that wonderful innings of 77. Yeah, I see no reason to change my view that we're going to see another Virat Kohli innings today and another RCB win today. I mean, KKR pulled off an impressive but close victory in the last match. Andre Russell back to his very, very best. But I would back the class of RCB. I mean, from what Tanmay was saying about the wicket, you know, if it's a flat track, that might bring the Australians into the game, Maxwell and Cameron Green. They've yet to really produce with the bat this tournament. Maxwell chipped in with a couple of wickets, but one of those two could come off today as well. And yeah, I think RCB have got more all-round ability than the KKR side. So, yeah, I have no reason to change my view. RCB and Kohli to star again.
Well, as David Brooks is so unexpected, like the Indian pitches at times, he's answered the last question in the first opening inning, just like Virat Kohli in the first match drove down the pitch and smashed Rabada for a boundary. Stanley Chodra, what does it say when you lose out the best batsman, perhaps the modern day cricket history, edges. It goes to the slip. Great, the match is taken. But more importantly, the catch is dropped. He takes the fresh guard and boom, next ball off to the boundary. What do you think is going inside the mind of the batter? And what is he trying to say to the bowler? Your views?
Well, I mean, if you're Virat Kohli, when you get a second chance, you don't. If you're the fielding side, you know you're asking for trouble. So that's for sure. And if you look into that game, he did make them pay. Got a half century that really got them across the line at the end of the day. So it's fine margins at this level of the game. You know, you can't afford to make such small mistakes because that's the difference between winning a game or losing it. And especially, I mean, if you're looking at today's encounter, my word, we couldn't have asked for anything bigger. This is the match. I mean, I'm open. I'm a KKR fan, but I've got to respect RCB as well. I mean, this is a match that's on and off the field.
Well, you had a brilliant experience in your team with Virat Kohli, Faf du Plessis, Glenn Maxwell, Dinesh Karthik. They're no spring chickens, you know. I mean, and then they dominate not only their side, the franchise side, but also wherever they're playing. Your views on it? Do you think as they're just getting older like wine?
Look, I think that's the best way to put it across. You know, I know the last couple of episodes of this, we've been talking about players up and about the age of 35 and what it means for them to still be playing. At the end of the day, if you look at all these sides, they do have high performance managers, people who are responsible. It's their sole duty. Standard is maintained, a standard of performance is achieved. The likes of du Plessis, he's performed world over, and that's the key thing about Faf du Plessis. But it's key that he also gets going in this tournament. He hasn't fired yet. Obviously, he's still early doors into the tournament, but this is the third game. Virat is now, I think, on his way, but it's important for someone like Faf du Plessis to start putting runs on the board as well, up front in the order.
Absolutely, that's an interesting point. I just want to ask Tanmay. Tanmay, in the top three, you always miss out on someone called Dinesh Karthik. He's batted brilliantly, and in the last two innings, both the matches, he's had a quick knock of 38 and 28 respectively in all important situations. But more importantly, nobody seems to be talking about it, and he's been an unbeaten part. Do you have any memories of Dinesh Karthik when you were playing in India at the junior circuit? Your views?
That's a very interesting question, actually. And let me add something more to that question.
Yes.
You know, Dinesh Karthik was with KKR. It was his idea to bring Varun Chakravarti to KKR. So expect a lot going on. Just like my colleague pointed out, this is going to be the game. It's one of the oldest rivalries. This was the first match in the inception of IPL. This was the first game played. And Gautam
Are you
Gambhir
talking about the famous Sunmukh Chand and Brett Lee delivery?
No, I'm just taking this further. I'm just saying this was the first game that was ever played in IPL.
Brilliant.
And with Gautam Gambhir coming back to KKR fold, it just adds to the spice. Coming back to your question, I have played a lot of cricket with Dinesh.
Yes, go on.
In domestic circuit. And even when KKR have their camps over here in the last 3-4 years, I've been regularly playing there. Sometimes I was called for a selection, and that's where I played Varun Chakravarti. And make no mistake, if you can't read him off the hand, you're going to find it very difficult to get him off the square. And I haven't played Sunil Narayan, but here's another interesting factor before we come back to this question. Sunil Narayan has dominated the three big players of RCB. Faf du Plessis, he's got him out, I think, twice.
Interesting.
Faf has got 54 runs of 70 balls. Virat Kohli, Sunil Narayan has got him out 4 times. Virat Kohli has scored 141 runs of 145 balls. Glenn Maxwell has scored 94 runs of 86 balls and gotten out 4 times to Sunil Narayan.
Wow, that's an interesting fact. Amazing.
And then to add to that, there's Varun Chakravarti. So the spin combination, the way the spinners go about their duty today for RCB bowlers RCB batters is something I'm looking forward to. And just to answer your question, look, I think that Nidhas Cup 2018, where Dinesh Karthik, that famous last over, I think it was done and dusted over there that he is going to be the finisher. As much as we talk about his current form, and even Anuj Rao chipping in the lower order, I mean, we can talk about it, him trying to come up the order, but there isn't really any space. You've just got Cameron Dean, where you've paid lots of money for him, and he had an excellent tournament for MI, who's batting at number 3. Rajat Patidar, in the previous season, I think in the knockout game, got 100 for them, and he's been their fine player. Then you've got Glenn Maxwell coming to bat at number 5. So it's a hard argument to make. But
I must interrupt you here and bring you back to the point of your memories of playing with Dinesh Karthik. And he seems to be the unsung hero in the big lineup. Do you think that's the case with him, or that has been always the case with Dinesh Karthik?
Oh, absolutely. He's one of the most selfless guys that you're going to find on the field. Quiet, calm, one of the nicer guys. And he's very proactive when it comes to his thinking. We've seen quite a few. I've played with him in quite a few scenarios. So when he comes into those scenarios, he just starts while he's in the dugout. He's just gauging what he has to do, and as soon as he gets on the field, he starts smashing the ball. And I've had a few chats with him about it. So he's a calm mind and a man in form who's doing no wrong right now in the commentary box and on the field.
Absolutely. I want to bring David Brooks back. He's one of the very few professionals who've got the understanding of live media, cricket broadcasting in UK, and then also knowing, and he still plays the game over the weekends, not so regularly though. But David, what do you think of a guy, which is the closest resemblance to Dinesh Karthik? Because make no mistake, we have to also look at the winners, the finishers, and not just the top 3, top 4 players. So what do you think of the guy who's a great guy, nice to talk to? You can always give him that responsibility, and you would expect it to get through, and who's also very good with the mic. Which is the player comes to your mind when you think of all those 4 qualities?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, yeah, Karthik has been a revelation actually behind the microphone. He's now the face of Indian cricket in the UK. The last couple of tours he's been here, and his wardrobe and fashion sense is now much talked about. Doesn't travel light. Must have a big suitcase when he comes over, but he always looks the part. And maybe he has sort of absorbed some of the knowledge in the box from the likes of Mike Atherton, Nasser Hussain. I mean, in terms of people who've made the smoothest transition from playing to broadcasting, you'd have to say Atherton is probably one of the best top journalists around. In terms of other people who, and I don't want to make a comparison with the great Ravi Shastri, but I might slip that one in. Ravi obviously has lit up the screens as well as all the other roles in which he's played in Indian cricket.
Well,
Karthik's been impressive.
I think the closest that comes to my mind was David Garr, who was also the skipper, but did not play in the 1992 World Cup. He was doing the commentary, and then he makes a comeback in the 93 tour. So do you think that is the closest one? Classy guy, comfortable guy, reliable, dependable, who's very like the James Bond. But he was also behind the mic and also made a comeback again. So do you think this is one of those taking a page out of that book? Your views, David?
Well, of course, Gower was controversially dropped before his time. There was a slight clash in styles with Graham Gooch and the new regime under Mickey Stewart, and so he was dropped too early. Yeah, so he came back and scored. I mean, Gower's a very laid-back character, as you know, so laid back people thought he was comatose at times on the field, but very, very dry and amusing with the mic. So, I mean, will we see him ever play under Indian colours? There's so much competition, isn't there, for places in that team? I can't see him make an international comeback, but the fact that he's doing so well in this role of finisher for RCB is great, and it shows that you can do both. I mean, Richie Beno was probably the first one to balance the two in his playing days.
Absolutely.
Towards the end of his playing days, he was behind the mic, so you wouldn't be the first to be a star of the commentary box and do it on the field as well.
Well, that's an interesting factoid for our viewers altogether. Virat Kohli smashed a match-winning half-century. Again, we've discussed that. Faf du Plessis, we've discussed. What about Glenn Maxwell? Stanley, do you think today is the day for Glenn Maxwell to come to the party?
Well, he is due. I think the one thing about the RCB batting lineup, I would like to see a scenario where everybody gets to put on runs because there's quality in that. Anybody can come to the party on a day. We had Virat Kohli coming to the party the other day. Glenn Maxwell, not so much. But in context, if you really look at if there is going to be a bit of grass on that surface, let's not leave out the seam bowlers here. I mean, there's quality in Mohammad Siraj. He's a swing bowler. There's quality in Mitchell Stark, a swing bowler as well. So something to offer with regards to something different with pace. The two bouncer rule can come into effect here. So let's not rule out the seamers in this context, especially in this encounter.
Well, absolutely. Two bouncer per over. Tanmay, just walk in here in the KKR dugout. Rinku Singh, Phil Salt, Sunil Narayan and Andre Russell. The last name being the most demonizing and demolishing part for any team. Your views, Tanmay?
Well, the man's a myth. I mean, we've seen him, and we've seen him plenty of times, what he can do, what he has done. And look, to be in the last game KKR played, I think half the side was done and dusted. And
yes.
We thought, okay, they're not going to get anywhere. And they reached to 200. If you don't get him out early, believe me, there are going to be some people in the crowd who will get injured. I mean, that's what he's capable of. He goes wild, and I've seen it, and he's unstoppable. There's Yorkers. I think Siraj has got the better of him. I think the last time they played, Yorkers and bouncers. You've got to get those two balls early to him. If not, you're going to be shaking your head if you're in the opposition team.
Well, David Brooks, is it a good thing or a bad thing for a fan to be when Andre Russell plays? Because he hits the ball and he hits them straight into the fan boxes. Do you think this is an ominous sign for the team or the opposition?
Yeah, he looks on top of his game. Whether he'll do it 2 games in a row, I wonder. He's not been the most consistent performer. When he's great, I mean, he looks in prime form from the word go, so it could happen. The weakness, in my view, is at the top of the order. Asking Narayan, KKR, continuing with Sunil Narayan. I mean, congratulations to him. 500 T20 matches. This will be his 500th. But as an opener, in the last 4 years, he's only scored 32 runs, averaging four. So he hasn't really done much in recent times. Vulnerable to the short ball. As an experiment, it worked well for a while, but in the last 4 years, nothing really. So Phil Salt, he looked good in the last game. There was much more like maturity about his innings because he's known for bright and breezy 20 or 30. Whereas I thought in the last game, he looked like he was, going to bat deep, which is what KKR will need from him today. So Phil Salt's one of those players on the way up, hasn't really proved himself yet at international level, but that began to turn round in this winter with 2 centuries. And so he might well have turned the corner. So Phil Salt could be a key player today for KKR.
Well, what about Ramandeep Singh and Harshit Rana, batting and bowling? Ramandeep Singh scored 35 of just 17 deliveries in the last match. Harshit Rana, bowling, scapped 3 crucial wickets in the previous match, in the last match. Your views, David? And then I would like to come to Stanley Chiodza on the matchup between the two coaches and what it means to be a mentor in the long dugout that we have. But first, David Brooks, Ramandeep Singh and Harshit Rana for KKR.
Yeah, I mean, it's a feat. Harshit Rana, I thought, bowled extremely well. And it's a feature of the tournament so far that we're seeing in a lot of the younger Indian players may not be as household names internationally, but they're showing what they can do. And I'd add, obviously Rinku Singh that we mentioned earlier to that list. He looked great. And so, yeah, it's encouraging signs that there's so much talent coming through.
Well, there's a very interesting, and before I go on to Stanley on the matchups between the coach, I'd like to get on to just one particular or perhaps 2 interesting names. Abhishek Nair, who's an assistant coach for KKR, and the bowling coach is Bharat Arun, who was actually the coach of India for bowling. So just tell me about it. I mean, your views, your experiences and memories.
Well, if you look at all these coaches, like we had this discussion when we were talking about Andy Flower and how he goes about these things. At this level, it's man management, isn't it? I mean, if you look at the skill sets on offer, especially in a tournament like this, the skill level is right up there with the best in the world. And it just comes down to these coaches in terms of who marshals his crew better, who picks, who assesses, and who accepts and who adapts to the conditions a lot quicker, especially with regards to conditions in India are concerned. You've got to assess those conditions and you've got to play accordingly. And I think that's what all these coaches bring in. If you look at the sides, there's very little to dissect. There's very little to separate the teams as per se, but it comes down to the line of thought with regards to the coaching, the direction. We did mention how we know Andy Flower is a method man. He's a man of a certain direction. And this is what all these technical sides bring into the picture.
Well, very interesting. Tanmay, just jump into this discussion. And you said, with Gautam Gambhir coming in, and perhaps your contemporary at some stage, Abhishek Nair, do you think it will add on to the gravitas to the team? And what is the role of a mentor vis-a-vis the coaching staff and the assistant coach? Just take us through.
I'll speak about Abhishek Nair first.
Yes.
He's a friend, and he's, believe me when I tell you this, his name, when it comes about coaching in India, his stock is rising every day. And he's done wonderful things with a lot of players. There have been players who've been 17, 18-year-olds he's worked with now are playing for their state teams. There have been players like Rinku Singh and others who've kept improving under him. And he's doing a lot of good things. He's someone who believes in hard work and a lot of practical knowledge. You know, constantly there are KKR academies. They have their camps. And if you go on social media, you'll see how active he is with his workouts and making sure that at least all his players try to hit as many balls as possible, always keeping scenarios. And he's just an exceptional guy. And
well, we're talking about Abhishek Nair. For those who don't know, Maharashtra's one of the longest serving Ranji Trophy players. Couldn't sustain his thing in the international arena, but he did his team, his IPL team is proud as well in the initial session. Tanmay, your idea about Gautam Gambhir and Bharat Arun, what will they do to this team in KKR?
Look, when we speak of Gautam Gambhir, this guy is one of the legends of the game. And we saw it last season when he was with LSG and he had come for a game to KKR, Kolkata Knight Riders at Eden Gardens. A lot of fans were chanting his name. And he's won 2 titles with KKR. So, you know, he's closely related. He's closely always been with this team and he's come back here. I'll tell you what a mentor brings in. Someone like him, I'm pretty sure he's going to be there with the batters, giving them the confidence and the freedom to play. He's going to make sure he's going to share his knowledge and experience, how to go about things, how to go about big games. And Bharat Arun, like you said, he's been India's coach, bowling coach for a while. You know, that international experience, knowing how to make sure that in high pressure situations, how to handle these situations, how to handle 40, 50,000 crowd, you know, when things are not going your way. I think Bharat Arun's going to bring that into the dugout. He's going to bring that into the dressing room, trying to make sure that just telling the bowlers to make sure they're calm and focus on what has been spoken about every individual bowler, batters, and execute those plans. So that's what I think he's going to bring in. And these are experienced guys, you know, for them, like my colleague just said, that it's about just man managing, making sure that it's a calm atmosphere. It's a healthy environment to be in. All these guys are exceptional talent. It's just for them to be guided well.
Well, absolutely. This is an interesting point that we go beyond the players, beyond the certain assumptions. Now, let's go on to our last segment, which is the Cricket Predictor. And we're going to start off with London, live from David Brooks. David Brooks, are you padded up?
Padded up. I played my shot too early. Played it in the first couple of minutes of the show. Just because,
but let me throw a curveball. I know that you would always go in for that. But let me throw a curveball. Are you up for it?
Please. Depends which way it's swinging.
Well, on your marks. Mohammad Siraj is the highest wicket taker for your team as you promote. Very good. No offense. 70 wickets. He's at the top of the line. Who's the number 2nd highest wicket taker? Any guesses?
Would it be Chahal, your man?
Well, he doesn't play for RCB right now.
Just within RCB. Sorry, just within RCB.
Yeah, within RCB.
Yeah, within RCB.
It's Glenn Maxwell. Glenn Maxwell with just 14. Yeah, lo and behold, only 14 wickets. So you have one of the top players, the top bowlers. Number 2 is your guy somewhere languishing at number 14 and who is not even a full-time bowler. Does it concern you? You want to still go with RCB?
Well, I suppose I mean, he is underrated as a bowler. You know, he's
it's a curveball, David. Will you still go with RCB tonight?
Still going for RCB, and Maxwell to take another couple of wickets. He's underrated as a bowler. Those statistics don't concern me.
Well, the same question to Stanley Chiodza. Stanley, you're at the Harare Sports Club, straight into the cricket ground. Just tell us, who's your pick today?
Well, I'm going to go with my favorite today. I'm going to go with KKR, just to make fun of David Brooks when I win.
Well, Andre Russell with 2,333 runs. Nitish Rana, highest run scorer. The second is 2,100. But guess what? The wickets. Andre Russell is at 99 and Sunil Narayan is at 182. Tanmay, your favorite?
Well, for me, I think the inclusion of Mitchell Starc is quite important in this one, especially up front. If the ball gets to swing, I think that pace and swing could be very handy for KKR with someone like Mitch Starc. And then obviously Sunil Narine will always be key because Sunil Narine is versatile, isn't it? You can use him up front with the new ball.
Stanley, I'm so sorry we run out of time. Your verdict is KKR. Tanmay, 10 seconds. Who's your verdict?
I'm going to go with David over here. I'm a former RCB player. And there are 4 left-handed in the KKR team. So Glenn Maxwell hurt us in the World Cup when he got Rohit Sharma out. I'm sure he might hurt a few today as well.
Absolutely. We're going with RCB, especially at their home dugout. Stanley, you're a solitary supporter of KKR, but tomorrow may be a different story altogether. Well, that's all we had time for with stats, facts, anecdotes, personal experience, and a little bit of English humor.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.